Hi, and welcome to the 4th episode of Use Your Power. I'm your host, Craig Davis, and for an audio description, I'm a man in my 40s with short blondish gray hair, short gray beard, and dark gray shirt. Just 50 shades of gray. So this episode is brought to you by Rev Up, which stands for Register, Educate, Vote, and Use Your Power, as in using your power to advance the disability vote. Cue the music! First, let's get a legislative update from Cinde Weatherby, who's with the League of Women Voters, along with friend of the show, Julia Espinoza, who is the Assistant Executive Director of Reach of Plano. So with us today, we have Cinde Weatherby with the League of Women Voters. So Cinde, can you just kind of give an introduction of yourself and kind of tell us about your role with the League of Women Voters?
Certainly. I am an older white woman, she, her, and have the gray hairs to prove it. So I've been around a long time, and in my retirement, I've donated my amassed professional expertise in this area to volunteer with the League of Women Voters to, as we say, empower voters and defend democracy. And that could never be more true than today, especially in Texas. I serve with the League of Women Voters of Texas, and I am responsible for advocacy on voting rights and election law issues. So I'm considered the issue chair in league lingo, and am able to coordinate with a number of other folks that I've pulled together to make sure that we're on top of what's going on in the Capitol and trying to activate our advocates all across the state to take action and stay up to date on what bills are going to affect voting and elections in our state. We have 34 other issue chairs that are looking at all sorts of other issues too, but my area is voting and elections.
So we've been following Senate Bill 7 very closely, and I know there's been a lot of movement on it this week, and so I've been very anxious to get your thoughts and where do you see this going?
Well, Senate Bill 7, like all the other bills that have been heard in committee or reached the floor, are not good things for voters in the state of Texas. I will say that I have to really give you guys strong applause because your advocates in the Capitol, Jeff Miller with Texas Disability Rights Texas, has just been phenomenal. I've never seen, there's no one else who's been as successful on eliminating problems as they have been. And so when Senate Bill 7 started out, it included provisions that would have required anyone with a disability to prove their disability and show some written materials that would be forwarded to the local elections officials to request a ballot by mail. And through the advocacy of your group and the receptivity of members of the State Affairs Committee, particularly Senator Judith Saffarini, you were able to get that removed. And I haven't seen any other group have that kind of success. So you have something that you can really be proud of. It was still in the bill when it went to the floor of the Senate, and in that realm, they were able to defeat that. Now, there's still some problems with Senate Bill 7 for everyone, and especially for people who need assistance. And that's also the case with House Bill 6. So there's still things to be done, but you guys have done a phenomenal job at getting your message across and getting that taken out of the bill.
Well, thank you. It's definitely been a lot of advocacy work with a lot of people. So it's definitely been something that a lot of people have been paying attention to, thank goodness. So So what other bills are you paying like a lot of special attention to this session?
Well, the two major bills are Senate Bill 7 and House Bill 6. Senate Bill 7 is the Lieutenant Governor's top priority election integrity bill, which we would certainly disagree with his definition of election integrity. Uh, and House Bill 6 is the House's top priority comprehensive bill. Senate Bill 7 is very intrusive in the whole process. House Bill 6 really concentrates more on bumping up penalties. And both of them have in common empowering poll watchers in the election setting almost to the exclusivity of anyone else. It's giving them the rights, as you may know, if you've gone to the polling place, you're not able to take in a camera or use your phone for any reason while you're in the polling place. These bills would give poll watchers the ability to take photographs, audio, or video and forward those to the Secretary of State. Now, they're prohibited from sending them or sharing them with anyone else, but somehow I don't imagine that that's going to be the case if it goes into law. People are too quick to send a video to social media or anywhere else they want to cause a ruckus. So we think that's totally intrusive, has no place. Senate Bill 7 does require some training for that was added on the floor. But most of the poll watchers are representing candidates or propositions, either for or against. Mm-hmm. They're not looking out after your rights as a voter. They're looking out after their partisan viewpoint. And I don't think that that's a proper thing to bring into the voting space to allow them to take film or audio that supports their cause. So I think it politicizes the space that should be nonpartisan. Everybody should be welcome into the polling place, no matter what what their own political beliefs are.
Can you kind of go over like the overall mission of the League of Women Voters, maybe even a little bit of the history, even just like the overall mission of it?
Sure. The League of Women Voters actually, the first league was started here in Texas in 1919. The people who helped get that group together were all longtime suffragettes promoting the vote for women. And after they formed that group here in Texas, on the same day in Austin, Dallas, Galveston, Houston, San Antonio, and one other, they formed local leagues as well, and a state league that was the coordinating body. And then the next year, on February 14th, 2020, the US League was formed. And our state leaders had something to do with helping get that formed as well. So for more than 100 years, we've been promoting information and empowering voters to participate in the polling place, in exercising their franchise. Over the years, we've branched out to doing many more other things as well, but we're still really most known for the voter's guide that puts out information directly from the candidates. In each of we have 34 leagues around the state. So we're a 3-level organization that I guess I would describe as an upside down pyramid, because we're really a grassroots run organization. Your membership is in your local league, and then you send members to serve on a board of directors or as an issue chair on, I think, about 30 different issues to the state league. And then the states send their members to the US League to serve on the national board of directors. And in Washington, we have a full-fledged and growing very competent staff that stays on top of national issues. So they look out after what's going on around the country, primarily in voting, but there are a lot of things that are affected by that. So we really are truly very invested in our empowering voting and defending our democracy. We do believe in democracy. We have a lot of positions that we've put together based on study and information. And we are rabidly, robustly nonpartisan.
So if someone wants to find out a little more information about the League of Women Voters, including some of the bills that you are looking at or working on, where can they go?
We have a really great website now, a long web address. It's lwv.org/Texas/advocacy. And you'll find links to our action alerts. And I know that RevUp has been circulating those, and the one on Senate Bill 7, for instance, I checked this morning and it's had more than 30,000 forwards to members of the legislature. So we are really trying to make it easy for you to connect with your legislator. You put them in office, they're sitting in your chairs in the state house. And I actually receive your action alerts, so I know when you're posting our action alerts. I've been working, I was president of the Austin League for a few years and been working with the folks here in Austin with RevUp and ADAPT. So you can find information about the bills we're following. There are more than 400 bills that were introduced that had something to do with elections or voting. And I have to say, it's really disappointing that so far, all of the bills that have come to a hearing or been considered are not any of the ones that we would have promoted, unfortunately. And they started really slow, and then they went into hyperdrive. And things are moving really fast, and deliberately to not allow a lot of people like us to make our statements known. I do know, I was watching yesterday, the House Elections Committee started at 8 a.m. and I believe they stopped around 6 a.m. this morning. They did not take action on House Bill 6, which is that other comprehensive bill. But when I was watching, I did hear one of the members of the committee, I believe it was State Representative Fierro, deliver a letter from Jeff Miller with Disability Rights Texas that was complaining about the lack of access to individuals with disabilities. And you could say the same about anybody, because they're not enforcing, they claim to have a mask rule in committee hearing rooms, but they're not enforcing it. There were more than 200 people in the Capitol yesterday waiting to speak on House Bill 6. And it was very intimidating to people who do care about their health, that there were many in the rooms. There were 3 waiting rooms because there were so many people, and a lot of maskless people mixed in.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us and highlighting some of the great work that you're doing, and thank you for doing that work. So thank you, Cinde Weatherby.
Sure, thank you. We really enjoy working with you, and like I said, we'd like some of that success to rub off on everybody else.
Well, thank you. So Julie, start off by stating your name, and however you want to, an audio description, and then however professionally you want to introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Julie Espinoza. I am the Assistant Director at a Center for Independent Living by Dallas called Reach of Plano. I am a white female I'm wearing a spring shirt because today is Good Friday, and I'm so happy not to be wearing a sweater. I have grayish brown hair, and I have a white wall behind me. And I've been involved with Rev Up for a few years, and I have worked with the League of Women Voters on many issues because we are always at the forefront wanting people with disabilities to become advocates and to use their voice and to fight. If we get just a handful, then everybody benefits. And the League of Women Voters have been a wonderful, wonderful resource. So I'm so happy to be able to be on this particular podcast because I am such a cheerleader of the League of Women Voters.
How did you first get involved?
Oh my gosh, I think it was with voter registration drives. You know, getting people registered to vote is very important. And people I have found over the years, we ask people when they first come into our office for services if they are already registered to vote. And I have learned that people will lie and they will say, yes, yes, I am. Well, the League of Women Voters would always run over to our office with a big stack of voter registration cards that we would put on the table by the door going out. And that stack always disappears. Registered, who's taking all these voter registration cards? I don't think they feel comfortable coming out and saying, I don't vote and I'm not registered. So I have worked with them on voter registration drives. I've worked with them on our most recent Plano mayoral candidates forum on disability issues, and they were very helpful with that. Can I just talk about that experience a little bit?
Absolutely. I was going to ask you about that because I know that you were doing a lot of promoting for that, and I wanted to know how it went.
It went very well. I wish that I had savored the opportunity that it was a little bit more. I found that the candidates were very, very busy. And we sent a candidate survey out on very simple disability questions. It was daunting for the candidates because they hadn't thought about people with disabilities before, and they hadn't thought about voters with disabilities. So speaking to them in a campaign drive, that really surprised me. But they had an image of people with disabilities, I think, not as empowered voters defending democracy. I love that when you said that, Cindy. I think they looked at them as more the vulnerable, you know, not the advocates, the vulnerable. And I don't think they were prepared for the simple questions that we asked. The League of Women Voters, when I contacted them about doing this, they gave me as much support as I wanted. And what I love about the League of Women Voters is they're sharp, they're experienced, they know what they're doing. They've got a process down, and it's very helpful just to be able to borrow that as needed. Everybody I've worked with the League of Women Voters, they've been so genuine. They care. They are there even when it's kind of like they have this spirit of doing it almost like a volunteer because it's so personal for them. It doesn't matter what it is you're trying to do. They want to get people involved. And they've always been very helpful with helping people understand the issues on the ballot. They'll come out and explain it to a group if they have questions. They always come out with a big stack of the printed voter guides. When I do voter registration drives, they'll send out voter registrars and they'll sit at the table with me, which is always nice to have some friends sit at the table with you when you're trying to get people to vote. They're just wonderful people. And I get the feeling that once you're part of that, it never goes away. You never retire. Cindy, I don't think you're ever going to retire. You'll always be doing this. And I asked one woman, you know, how she felt about doing it during COVID. And she says, it's important work. It has to be done, which shows that it was such dedication. So the Rev Up Mayoral Candidates Forum, I think it forced the candidates to change their perception of people with disabilities. I think it forced them to include them in their platforms. And I think it caused voters with disabilities to truly get how the people in office think about them and how important that is when you vote for somebody. So it was very successful. And I would like to do more things like that because I realize now the power of it goes on and on and on. It's not just that election, it's that attitude change in the community. I also have saved the material that I got from the League of Women Voters because they had step-by-step what you do, a timeline table, and it's perfect. So you really don't have to think, oh, how am I going to do this? It's all there and the support is there. And I love the way that the information that we gathered will be on vote411.org because they amass all that information for voters to go to. So they'll be able to see what I saw during this whole process. And it's important for voters to get and understand who they're voting for, how they look at you. Are you worth their time? Are you important? And I know we've had a lot of calls recently at the office I work at regarding vaccination and transportation. And every city had a different response. And that showed the attitude in that city towards people with disabilities and elderly getting vaccinated. And so the attitude of the people in office, it trickles down to us every day, whether we realize it or not. So I hope I answered your question, but the mayoral forum, I think it really stressed the importance of disability issues and voters with disabilities on the candidates and on the voters. And that's something we often just don't think about. We don't think about how important we all are in our roles and our attitudes towards our roles. We take a lot for granted, and that's not ever good.
Well, I'm glad it went well.
Thank you.
So Julie Espinoza, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
I always look forward to it. I will let you get back to your day.
Thank you.
To find more information, please visit the League of Women Voters Texas webpage under Take Action to find out how you can contact your local officials. Before we go, we're showing you on the screen how you can go onto our YouTube page and set up new video alerts. That way you'll be notified every time a new episode of Use Your Power is released. Well, we've come to the end of another episode. I'd like to thank our guests today, and I'd also like to continue hearing from you. So please send us any content or any questions to revuptx@gmail.com. Also, all of our social media information is in the video description below. So until next time, I've been Craig Davis, and use your power.
So nice to see you, and I wish your friend